Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our online class on YouTube. So, if you are visiting this channel for the first time, or even if it's the second time or the 10th time, provided you have not hit the subscribe button, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get notified when we drop the next video. So, in this very class, we are going to be looking at the male reproductive system. We're not going to look at all of it. We're just going to focus our attention on just the structures, okay, and what they do. And in another class, which is going to be part 2, we'll talk about other functions of the male reproductive system. We'll also talk about how the male reproductive system is regulated by hormones, okay. So everything about hormone, everything about how sperm functions and all of those stuff will be discussed in another class. So in this very class, we're just going to focus our attention on the structure, okay. So part 1, structure and anatomy of the male reproductive system, and this is very important for JAMB, WAEC, NECO, call them GC, all of those exams. You need this knowledge. So let's quickly dive in. So by the end of this video, you should be able to identify all male reproductive organs, distinguish between the external and the internal organs. You'll be able to explain the role of the scrotum and the role of the penis. You should be able to describe the internal structure of the testis. You should be able to name the 2 key cell types in testis, trace the complete sperm pathway, and understand the role of each duct. Alright, so let's begin. Let's begin. Remember, this is part 1 of the class. There are still going to be other parts, okay. So do well to subscribe so you get notified when the other parts are released also. So today we are going to be looking at, let's begin with the major divisions. All right, now on the left side of the screen you can see the diagram of the male reproductive system, and on the right side there is just the explanation you need. So the male reproductive system is divided into 2 parts. You have the external organs, also called external genitalia, and then you have the internal organs, also called the internal genitalia. The external organs consist of just the penis and the scrotum. Okay, so on this diagram, you can only see the penis. The scrotum is not labeled, but in other diagram as you proceed, you get to see the scrotum. So these are the only 2 reproductive organ in male that are external. Okay, these are the only 2 parts of the male reproductive system that you can see externally in a man, while the others are inside the body. So those ones are the internal organs, and the major one being the gonads, that's the testis, which you can see clearly labeled in the diagram. And then you can also see the conducting ducts. All right, you can see the part labeled as the ductus deferens, that stuff that look like a rope. All right, that is the conducting duct. Another accessory gland like the prostate gland and some other glands which we are going to discuss. All right, so the major thing you need to know about the scrotum is that the scrotum is there to maintain temperature. All right, the body, or the temperature of the body inside the body is too hot for your sperm production as a man. Okay, so because of that, the scrotum has to be there to anchor the testis outside the body, where it is a bit cooler than the inside of the body. All right, so for maximum sperm production, the testis has to be approximately 2 to 3 degrees Celsius below your normal body temperature, and your normal body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. So for optimal sperm production, the temperature of the testis has to be around 35 degrees Celsius, 34 to 35 degrees Celsius. So this is why this testis cannot stay inside the body. It has to be outside, and that is the reason why the scrotum is there. So the reason why the scrotum is there is just to anchor the testis outside the body so that it can be at the perfect temperature for sperm production. All right, now for the penis itself, being the second part of the external genitalia, you need to know that it has what we call erectile tissues. Okay, there are two types of erectile tissues that are found there in the penis. Okay, it is not labeled on this diagram, but then you can see the part that is painted red. Okay, let me zoom in. Yep, there it is. So you can see it is labeled as erectile tissue. Yeah, this part that is painted red. Yes, I'm talking about this part. All right, this same part here. You can see it is labeled as what? Erectile tissue. All right, you can see there are two of them. One here and the other one on the other side. Okay, one here and one here. All right, so those two are the same erectile tissue we're talking about here. Okay, so the penis has two erectile tissues. One of them is called the corpora cavernosa and the other one is called corpus spongiosum. All right, so these two are the tissue behind erection. All right, so for the penis to become erect, blood we have to rush into this tissue, and when it rushes into this tissue, since the tissue is erectile, it will stretch and become solid. All right, and then as long as the blood is trapped within that tissue, the penis remains erect. But it will get to a point after a long time, all the blood will have to flow out of the tissue, and then the penis return to its original size. All right, so let's take a few questions. All right, so question number one: which of the following is an external male reproductive organ? Of course, look at the option. Option A, prostate gland; B, seminal vesicle; C, penis; D, vas deferens. So what is your answer? Of course, it is option C, penis. Question number two: the scrotum keeps the testis at what temperature relative to core body temperature? A, 2 to 3 degrees Celsius above; B, same as body temperature; C, 2 to 3 degrees Celsius below; D, 5 to 6 degrees Celsius below. Of course, what do you think will be the correct answer? Option C, 2 to 3 degrees Celsius below. Okay, it has to be below the body temperature. Okay, so number three: which erectile tissue of the penis surrounds the urethra and forms the glands? Okay, A, corpora cavernosa; B, corpus spongiosum; C, tunica ambuginea; and D, dartos muscle. So what do you think is the answer? The answer is option B, corpus spongiosum. Corpus spongiosum mainly surrounds the urethra and also forms the glans penis. Meanwhile, for the corpora cavernosa, it's just the major major muscle involved in erection. All right, so let's go back to that diagram and I'll show you what the glans penis is. Okay, so this is the diagram. So let's go deeper. Okay, so you can see this head of the penis. All right, this tip of the penis that looks like a triangle. All right, so that is what we call the glans penis. It is not labeled as glans penis here, but then this very tip, yeah, this part that is not visible on the screen, okay, that has the urethra opening, that's this triangular part, this head is what we call the glans penis. So it is actually the spongiosum that forms the glans penis. All right, so let's continue. More questions. Question number 4: the primary function of the penis in reproduction is to A, produce sperm cells; B, store mature sperm; C, deliver semen into the female tract; and D, synthesize testosterone. What do you think is the correct answer? Think, think, and think. The answer is option C, deliver semen into the female tract. You need to understand that every part of the male reproductive system has their own function. And when it comes to the penis, the function is just to deliver the semen into the female reproductive tract. Okay, it is the function of the testis to produce the sperm, not just the entire part of the testis, but the specific part called the seminiferous tubule. We'll get there. All right, you see other part like the epididymis that stores the sperm. Then you need to know that the penis itself, the part that is outside, the one we discussed before now. Okay, we said there are two guys that are external, the scrotum and the penis. The penis there functions during sexual intercourse to just go into the female reproductive tract and drop the semen there. That's the function. So now question number 5: which of the following correctly pairs external structure of the male reproductive system? A. Testis and epididymis. B. Scrotum and penis. C. Vas deferens and urethra. D. Prostate and bulbourethral gland. Okay, so the correct answer, of course, is scrotum and penis, option B. And then number 6, during cold weather, the scrotum contracts to pull the testis closer to the body. Why? A. To stop sperm production. B. To maintain optimum testicular temperature. C. To increase testosterone output. And then D. To prevent urinary leakage. Well, what do you think is the answer? Option B. To maintain optimum testicular temperature. Okay, remember that the reason why the scrotum is there is to keep the testis at the correct temperature for sperm production. All right, that's the reason why it's there. So once everywhere becomes extremely cold during cold season, the temperature becomes too low for sperm production. All right, the correct temperature for sperm production should be around 34 to 35 degrees Celsius. So once temperature falls below that, you see the scrotum will contract to push the testis towards the body that is normally hot, so that temperature can restore. All right, so the function, anytime you hear scrotum, the function is not just to house or to hold the testis. Its major function is to keep that testis at the correct temperature. All right, now let's go down into the testis. All right, so now when you are asked which organ in the male reproductive system is the major, like the main reproductive organ in the male reproductive system, the answer is the testis. All right, not even the penis, not the scrotum. Okay, it is the testis itself. So the testis is referred to as the gonad. That is where sperm production takes place. All right, so there are paired testes in every normal male. Okay, every normal male has two testes, or a pair of testes that is hanging outside of the pelvic cavity. That's inside the scrotum. Okay, it is not inside the pelvic cavity, it's hanging outside, just the way the penis is also hanging outside. Okay, so it is divided internally into testicular tubules. All right, let me check if that is, yeah, you can see it right there. Okay, oh sorry, it's not on the diagram. All right, but then let's proceed. Okay, each lobule contains highly coiled seminiferous tubule. Okay, so let me zoom in so you can see what I want to show you. All right, so let's go in. Okay, so you can see this is actually the seminiferous tubule. Okay, this yellow stuff that is coiled inside here. All right, so you can see it's like the testis is divided. Okay, there are sections. All right, and in every section, like for instance, this is a section, right? This is a section. This is also another section. This is another section, and this is another section, right? So all of these are sections, and in each of these sections inside, you can find seminiferous tubule in all of them. Okay, so those are the lobules we are talking about, and each lobule has coiled seminiferous tubules within it. Okay, so the seminiferous tubule is the site for spermatogenesis. The word in fact, anytime you hear the word genesis in biology, it means something is being produced. Okay, so whatever is being produced, you will often hear the name before genesis is mentioned. All right, so take for instance spermatogenesis. So you can hear sperm before the genesis, telling you that what this is the word that means sperm production. All right, so we don't want to speak like every other individual out there, so we have to use our own terminology. So instead of saying, oh, seminiferous tubule is for sperm production, you can just say seminiferous tubule is the site for spermatogenesis. Okay, and every biology teacher and student should understand what it means. Okay, so the seminiferous tubule contains germ cells and Sertoli cells. Okay, those are two cells that are found within the seminiferous tubules, and you definitely get the function of these two cells in a few seconds, yeah, on the same slide. So inside the seminiferous tubules there are fluids. Okay, so the function of this fluid is to actually move sperm, because it is in this 71st tubule sperm will be produced, but once they are produced, they have to be taken away. They have to be taken to a storehouse. All right. So it is this fluid that helps to move them out of the 71st tubule into the storehouse, which is the epididymis. All right. You can see it clearly labeled on the diagram. Body of epididymis. You can see how long it is from the head of epididymis stretched down to the tail of the epididymis. You can see, how bulky that is. That is where the sperm is stored. So they have to be taken from the 71st tubule into the epididymis where they are stored. All right. So please, let's go ahead and discuss the Sertoli cell, which I just mentioned, and another cell called the Leydig cell or interstitial cell. Now, starting with the Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells, sometimes we want to call them the nurse cell. Why? Because once this sperm is being produced, the Sertoli cell helps to support the sperms while they are being made. Okay? Because when they are being made, they are very, very fragile. They need support. So it is the Sertoli cell that does that, supports them, supply them with nutrients. All right? And also form what we call the blood testis barrier. That simply means where the the sperm is being produced, there are no blood there. Okay? Where the sperm is being formed, where spermatogenesis is taking place, there are no blood there. Why? Because there is Sertoli cell that has formed a demarcation between blood and where the spermatogenesis is occurring. All right, it's just like a pregnant woman. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before, but let me tell you now that in a pregnant woman, the blood of the baby does not mix with the blood of the mother. Okay, because in the placenta there is a barrier. All right, preventing the blood of the mother from mixing up with the blood of the child. Okay, that's why if a woman is HIV positive, the baby will still remain HIV negative. All right, the HIV blood will not cross into the baby. All right, so there is normally a barrier. So in the same way, between the blood and where sperm production is taking place, there is a barrier. That barrier is formed by the Sertoli cell. We call it the blood testis barrier. Okay, separating the blood from the exact parts of the 71st tubule where spermatogenesis is taking place. Now, there's another cell called the Leydig cell, okay, also called the interstitial cells. In fact, for JAMB and POSITME, they normally use the word interstitial cell, okay, but they may use the word Leydig cells. Now, the Leydig cells is found between tubules. All right, you can see I've already shown you the tubules already. Okay, so they are found between tubules, the 71st tubules, and their function is to produce testosterone. All right, please take note that the Leydig cell is not inside the tubules. It's not like the Sertoli cell. The Sertoli cell, they are found inside the tubules. Okay, because that's where the sperm production is taking place. So they have to do the testis-brain barrier thing there inside the tubules. But then these Leydig cells, they are in between tubules. They are not inside the tubule, they are outside, separating one tubule from the other. All right, so their function is to produce testosterone, okay, and then they also stimulate luteinizing hormone, LH. Okay, we're going to discuss that in part 2 of this class, not here. All right, so but then just know that it is the Leydig cells, so-called interstitial cells, that produces testosterone in male. Okay, so you can see I wrote the JAMB exam tip. Okay, the Sertoli cell is inside the tubule and the Leydig cell is outside the tubule. Okay, the the Sertoli cells, the function is to support the sperm while they are being produced and to provide nutrition for them. Meanwhile, the Leydig cell, also called the interstitial cell, is there to produce what? Testosterone. So let's take some question. What is the exact site of spermatogenesis within the tubules? You can see the options. Option A, Leydig cell, B, tunica and virginia, C, 71st tubules, and D, epididymis. The answer is what? The 71st tubule, that's where spermatogenesis takes place. Number 8, Sertoli cells are also called nurse cell. Their function include all except A, mechanical support of germ cell, B, forming the blood testis barrier, C, secreting testosterone, D, providing nutritional support. Of course, the answer is what? Secreting testosterone. Sertoli cell does not secrete testosterone. What it does is that it supports, provide nutrition and all of that. So secreting testosterone is for the interstitial cells, all right, or the Leydig cell. Now, question number 9. Leydig, aka interstitial cell, are located A, inside the seminiferous tubule, B, in the space between the tubules, C, in the epididymis head, and D, along the vas deferens wall. Well, the Leydig cell, also called interstitial cell, they are found in between the tubules. That's option B. Okay, the space between tubules. All right. So, number 10. Which hormone directly stimulates Leydig cell to produce testosterone? Yes, the answer, without any doubts, should be what? The luteinizing hormone. Okay, so it is the luteinizing hormone that stimulates the production of testosterone. All right. Now, number 11. Each testis is divided internally into compartments called, yes, the answer is lobules. We just discussed that, option B. Lobules, and each of the lobules contain what? Seminiferous tubules. So that's like lobules contains tubules, all right, something like that. Now, question number 12. The tough fibrous outer coating of the testis is called, well, I may not have mentioned it in this class, but then just take this as a fact. It is called tunica albuginea. Okay, that's the tunica albuginea you have been hearing ever since. Okay, it's a tough coating that envelopes the testis. Okay, now let's now look at the sperm pathway. All right, so for those that have been wondering, what is this scrotum? Okay, especially maybe for the ladies that don't have it, there you go. That's the scrotum. It's like a sac that envelopes the testis. You can see it's clearly labeled down there. All right, so let's look at the sperm pathway. How is the sperm produced? Okay, and how does it leave the body? Okay, so you can use the mnemonic you can see below, which is some very energetic vans eject urine. Okay, some very energetic vans eject urine. So what does that mean? It all begins from what? The seminiferous tubule. That's the same in the what? The memory trick. You can see that the mnemonic. All right. So some very energetic van eject urine. So that some there stands for what? Seminiferous tubule. So this is where everything begins. The sperm is produced in the seminiferous tubule. All right. Then after that, you have the vas efferentia. Okay. Vasa efferentia. You need to understand that as a JAMB student, you should be able to differentiate between the vasa efferentia and the vas deferens. Okay, so the vas deferens, also called doctor's deferens. Now, the vasa efferentia is the passage between the seminiferous tubule and epididymis. All right. So some of you watching this, you already know that sperm is produced in the seminiferous tubule, stored in the epididymis. But how does it move from the seminiferous tubule to the epididymis? There has to be a passage in between. Yes, that is what? The vasa efferentia. Okay, and that is the meaning of what? Very, in that mnemonic down there. Some very energetic van. So that very there stands for what? Vasa efferentia. Now, energetic stands for the epididymis. Okay, so this is where sperm is stored after they are produced. Okay, they are produced in the seminiferous tubule. They are stored in the epididymis so that they can mature. Okay, and gain energy. They gain motility. They'll be able to move. Okay, staying here for a very long time. And then after that, they move to the vas deferens. All right, they move to the vas deferens. The vas deferens is also a tube. Okay, that connects into the pelvic cavity. All right. So if you check the diagram, you can see the what's it called? The vas deferens. But so bad it's not labeled. But don't worry, I just have to show you. Oh, it's labeled, thank God. You can see the vas deferens clearly labeled. Okay, but then let me still zoom in just so you see it. All right. So you can see this stuff that look like wire. All right. This stuff that look like wire is the very stuff we're talking about. I mean, this guy here. All right, this guy. Yeah, you can see it. Yes, it is labeled here, and it is labeled as what? Vas deferens. Okay, so this tube, if you check, it actually connects from the what's it called? From the testis below, and then zoom upward into the pelvic cavity and then coming back again to connect with the ejaculatory duct. All right, so that is the vas deferens. Okay, so the vas deferens, and then after that to the ejaculatory duct. Okay, so this ejaculatory duct is formed by the vas deferens and the seminal vesicular or vesicle duct. Okay, but we just call it seminal vesicles. So that seminal vesicle is actually a gland. All right, that gland also has a lot of functions which we will also surely discuss. Okay, now after that you have the urethra. The urethra, you can see it clearly labeled in the diagram. It is from the urethra that the sperm will actually leave the body into the body of the female, okay, during sexual intercourse. Okay, so this is the exact sperm pathway, okay, producing the seminiferous tubule. From there, pass through the vasa efferentia into the epididymis. From the epididymis, once the sperm is mature, it passes through the vas deferens into the ejaculatory duct. From the ejaculatory duct, enters the urethra. From the urethra, out of the body. Okay, so that is the sperm pathway. Okay, so let's look at the structure of the epididymis. All right, the epididymis is crescent-shaped structure on the posterior surface of each testis. When we say posterior surface, we mean at the back. The word posterior means back. All right, so you can actually see that here. Okay, so taking a look at this guy here, you can see the body of the epididymis. You can see the epididymis is just hanging behind. Okay, so this part where seminiferous tubule is labeled, tunica umbrigina is labeled, that's the front of the testis. While the part where the body of the epididymis is labeled is the back. Okay, that is the back of the testis, and that is where the epididymis is hanging. All right, you can also observe that in the previous diagram. Okay, you can take a look at the epididymis back there in that scrotum. You can see that the epididymis is just behind, okay, hanging behind the testis. All right, so now it is crescent shape hanging at the posterior surface of the testis. Okay, so it is coiled. Okay, it is highly coiled tube, and if you should extend that tube, it can be as long as 6 meters. Okay, and I believe many of you are not even up to 6 meters at all. That means if you should carry your as a male, carry your epididymis and we stretch it, it should be taller than you. Okay, but then it just squeeze itself, coil so much, and occupy that tiny space behind the testis. All right, so it has a head, it has a body, and it has a tail. Okay, the head, also called what? Caput. All right, receive the sperm from the what? Vasa efferentia. You can see the head of the epididymis right there. Okay, you can see where it's labeled as the head of the epididymis. That's around here. Okay, so that is the head. All right, so the head of epididymis is up there. You can see it connecting to what? The what's it called? The testis, the seminiferous tubules in the testis. So that is the part that receives the sperm, okay, that is coming from the seminiferous tubules. Okay, and then you also have the body called the corpus. This is the main site where maturation of this sperm happen, and then you have the tail, also called the cauda. All right, so from this tail, this epididymis is connected to what? To the vas deferens. All right, so what's the function of the epididymis? Number one, maturation. So immotile, the word immotile means cannot move. Okay, not moving, immovable. Okay, does not have the ability to move. So immotile spermatid develop into swimming, develop swimming ability. Sorry. So when sperm are produced, they can't swim yet. Okay, so they are taken to that same epididymis. It is in the epididymis they now mature. It's just like when the child is born, the child cannot walk. But after some time, as development occurs, the child will now start having the strength, the ability to walk. The same thing happens for the sperm. When they are first made, they can't move, they can't swim. But then after some time in the epididymis, they now have the strength, the ability to swim. Okay, so what else is the function of the epididymis? Apart from being a place where the sperm will mature, it also serve as a storage. Okay, so it serves as storage for sperm. Once sperm are produced, they are stored here. All right, so apart from that, it also serves as what? Transport. It propels the sperm forward during ejaculation. Okay, so that is the function of the epididymis. Now, for the vas deferens, also called the ductus deferens, of course, you can see it's a thick-walled muscular tube. Let me zoom in again so you can see that clearly. All right, so there you go. That's the vas deferens right there, that long tube, okay, starting from around here to this part. All right, so that is the vas deferens, also called the ductus deferens. So it's long and thick, okay. It ascends from the scrotum into the pelvic cavity, loops over the urinary bladder, and joins the ducts of the seminal vesicle to form the ejaculatory duct. So take note, the ejaculatory duct is formed when the ductus deferens, also called the vas deferens, combine with the seminal vesicle. Okay, that area is called the ejaculatory duct. Okay, now there's something called vasectomy. Anytime you hear the word ectomy, it means you're going to remove something from the body by surgery. Okay, so vasectomy, that vas is telling you that, oh, we are removing what? Vas deferens. So vasectomy is the surgical cutting of the vas deferens. Like, you cut off the vas deferens and remove it from the body. So once sperm is produced and stored in the epididymis, there will be no paths for that sperm to pass through and come out through the penis. So that kind of person cannot impregnate a woman forever. Okay, and I know somebody is going to ask, if the vas deferens is no longer there, all the sperm in the epididymis, once, how would they live there? Like, would they just continue to accumulate? Because even if you remove that vas deferens, sperm production continues, just that they cannot come out. So are they going to keep accumulating until the epididymis becomes so big? No. Now, once sperm is produced and they are stored in the epididymis for too long and they are not living, the body will digest it right there in the epididymis and absorb it, okay, into your body. So it now looks as if it's a nutrient. All right, so your body absorb that sperm, absorb all the nutrients, absorb everything, destroy it, consume it into your body, okay, to serve as nutrients. So you'll not be able to impregnate a lady ever again. All right, and it cannot be reversed. Okay, so the result is that no sperm ejaculates. Okay, azoospermia is the term we use to describe such condition. Okay, there'll still be semen, but just that there will be no sperm. All right, so let's take some question. Which region of the epididymis does sperm maturation mainly occurs? Of course, the answer is corpus, which is the body. Question number 14. If the epididymis were uncoiled, it would stretch approximately A 1 meter, B 3 meters, C 6 meters, and D 10 meters. Option C is correct. Now, mature motile sperm are stored in which parts of the epididymis? Well, the answer is the tail. Okay, that is where you find the guys that are mature and motile. All right, because before they move from the head to the body to the tail, by this time they are already fully matured. Number 16, vasectomy results in azoospermia because A, testosterone production stops, B, vas deferens is cut, blocking sperm transport, C, the epididymis is removed surgically, and D, cellulite cells are destroyed. Answer is B, the vas deferens is cut, so blocking sperm transport. Number 17, the ejaculatory duct is formed by the union of A, vas deferens and urethra, B, vas deferens and the ducts of the seminal vesicles, C, epididymis and the vas deferens, D, urethra and the prostate duct. The answer is the vas deferens and the ducts of the seminal vesicle. Now, over to question 18. Which of the following correctly orders the complete sperm pathway? Okay, so A is testis, epididymis, vasa differentia. That's wrong. Okay, actually, sperm must move from vasa differentia. Okay, yeah, I think that's correct. Okay, sorry for that. So testis, from the testis here to the epididymis to the vasa differentia. Yeah, no, sorry, that's the wrong. Okay, I don't know what's wrong with me right now. Alright, so actually, sperm moves from the seminiferous tubule, right, through the vasa differentia to the epididymis. So it moved from vasa differentia to epididymis, not from epididymis to vasa differentia. So option A cannot be correct. So let's go back to option B. Testis, okay, vasa differentia, okay, epididymis, yeah, this one is correct. To vas deferens, vas deferens, and then ejaculatory duct urethra. I think that is the correct one, option B. But let's take a look at option C. Option C says testis to vas deferens to epididymis. I don't think so. It moved from epididymis to vas deferens, not from vas deferens to epididymis. And then option D, from the testis to the epididymis to ejaculatory duct to vas deferens. This is wrong. Okay, sperm moved from the vas deferens to the ejaculatory duct, not from ejaculatory duct to vas deferens. Okay, so this pathway is very important, and every student, whether JAMB or WAEC or Positive, should take note of it. All right, now more questions. A single cell completing meiosis during spermatogenesis produce how many sperm? Well, we're gonna discuss this more later. Okay, so the answer is option C, 4. Number 20, sperm cells are haploid. This means they contain, half of the chromosome of a normal body cell, okay, which is option B. And then 21, the enzyme-filled cap at the tip of the sperm head is called acrosome, option C. All right, so we have not anything about the sperm. We'll discuss that in part 2. All right, we'll discuss that in part 2, but if there is time, we'll discuss in part 2. Okay, we can't actually discuss it here, so let's proceed. Okay, energy, ATP, for sperm swimming is produced in the sperms where? Well, it is produced in the middle piece, all right, which is where the mitochondria is found. Okay, remember mitochondria is responsible for what? Energy production. Now, you'll see all this when we start talking about the sperm. At least answering this question, I will give you an idea of what the sperm is, so that when we come back for part 2, you will have a clear understanding of everything we'll be doing. Now, question number 3, the urethra in male is described as urogenital duct because it carries, this one is very, very important, okay? You need to understand the word genital. Anytime you hear the word genital, it refers to the reproductive system, okay? And anytime you hear the word uro, represents the excretory system, like urine, okay? So that's where the word is coming from. Uro represents the urine, the excretory system, okay? Genital represents the reproductive system. So when you hear the word urogenital, it means you are combining these two, okay? And the reason why there is a term called urogenital is because of the urethra, okay? The urethra is the place where sperm will pass, and it's also a place where urine will pass. So sperm and urine share the same passage when it comes to that part. They don't share the vasa differential, they don't share vas deferens, they don't share every other thing. The only thing that the urine and the sperm share is the urethra. Okay, so the urine is coming from the kidney, from the ureter, urinary bladder, and then passes through the urethra. While the sperm is coming from the seminiferous tuberous to the vasa differential to the epididymis, down to the vas deferens, and move to the ejaculatory ducts, and from there it passes through the urethra again. So it's like we are coming from two different parts and we come and pass through the same door. That door is what connects these two parts together. So the reason why there is urogenital is because of the urethra, and that's because it serves as passage to both urine and sperm, or rather urine and what? Semen, option B. Oh, I think there's one more question there. Oh, sorry. Now, cryptorchidism, I wanted to mention this in the class and I forgot. Okay, but thank God it's here. Cryptorchidism is also called undescended testis. Okay, it leads to sterility because, first of all, you need to understand what cryptorchidism is. Okay, so there are some congenital anomaly. The word congenital anomaly means abnormality. Okay, so anytime something is congenital, that word actually means that this problem came from birth. All right, you know, there are some persons, they give birth to them with only one hand. Okay, so that's a congenital anomaly. Like, not that they were born completely and then something happened after they were born. No, this one just happened during their development in the womb. They developed and then one hand was missing. Okay, so it's congenital anomaly. So anytime something happens, like a person is born and then there is something wrong, okay, maybe one of the eyes is blind, or the person is born blind, or maybe the person is born with a cleft palate, or maybe the person is born with 6 fingers. Okay, this one is very common. All of those are what? Congenital anomaly. Okay, so cryptorchidism is a congenital anomaly where the child is born, but then one of the testes is trapped in the body. Okay, because during development, the testes, they are made inside the body, and then as the child is developing, as the child is developing, the testes will begin to descend from inside the body into the scrotum. So once the child is born, after some months, you see the testes has descended completely into the scrotum. It's like, oh, I used to be up there, but I just came down here because inside that place is too hot. So that's what is happening. All right, so they descend into the scrotum. But then there are some conditions where sometimes one of those testes will be trapped inside the body. So once the child is growing, let's say once the child is around 6 months to 1 year, you now realize that the child only has one testis. Okay, you can see only one testis in the scrotum. The other one is not there. Not because it is not there, but because it is still inside the body. It did not come down. Okay, so that one that is trapped inside the body will not be able to produce sperm. Why? Because inside the body is too hot. Okay, so the temperature up there is too much, too high. Spermatogenesis will not take place. Only the one that descended will be able to produce sperm. So we call this what? Cryptochidism. Okay, undescending testis, where one of them is up there, and because it is up there, the temperature there is too hot, it will not be able to produce sperm. All right, so summary. All right, so we've talked about the structure of the external genitalia, the scrotum and the penis. We talk about the testes. We have talked about the corpora cavernosa, the corpus spongiosum, and we've talked about the testes. Okay, we've discussed the structure of the testes, the lobes, the tubules, the Sertoli cell, the Leydig cell. We've talked about all those guys, and we have also talked about the ductal system, which is the sperm pathway, the seminiferous tubule, vasa efferentia, epididymis, vas deferens, ejaculatory duct, and urethra. All right, so with that, I think we have actually covered up the whole of part 1. Okay, so coming up next is part 2. All right, so if you have actually listened to this class till this point, you have spent this whole 42 minutes and 5 seconds to this point. So I want you to hit the subscribe button if you have not, so that you can join in the next class. You get notified. Turn on the notification bell so you get notified when we drop the next video. All right, so thank you for watching. Also, don't forget to like this video. If you have a question, drop in the comment section. All right, and then I will definitely give you the answer that you deserve. All right, so I am Pedagogue Dex. See you in my next class.